The place smelled like burnt rosemary and lies. We had barely sat down when I noticed something was off, but not in the way I'd felt it before. This was not her usual cold glances or the disappearing phone screen when I walked into the room. This was deeper, heavier, like the air around her did not belong to me anymore. Emily was dressed too well for Lucas. It was not a fancy place, but she'd spent an hour getting ready, new dress, perfect curls, and makeup she did not even wear on our anniversary last month. She told me she wanted to reconnect. The words sounded like a formality. It felt like someone remembering to charge a dead phone out of guilt. Not love. We barely got through the breadsticks before he showed up. I did not see him walk in. I do not even remember the sound of the door. 1 second, it was just me and her, and the flickering candle. The next, there he was, this guy with rolled-up sleeves and a crooked confidence that did not make sense in a restaurant like this. He did not glance at me, did not hesitate. He walked straight to our table like he belonged there. He grabbed Emily's hand like it was his, not gently, not politely, like it was a habit, familiar, intimate. And then he grinned, this knowing, unapologetic grin that made my jaw lock without me realizing it. And she did not flinch. She did not pull back. She did not even look instead. She smiled, not a surprised smile, not even a nervous one. It was the smile I used to get after making her coffee, just the way she liked it. The smile she gave me when I proposed, that smile was gone for months. And here it was hand-delivered to someone who was not me. Did not think you'd come in? She said softly, not nervously, not angrily, softly. I waited for the explanation, the quick save, the awkward, "Oh, this is my friend from college." Nothing. He pulled a chair from the table next to us without asking and sat down right between us. I watched as Emily's hand stayed in his, her thumb rubbed his knuckle once briefly. That tiny motion made something in my stomach fold in on itself. She finally looked at me. "Oh," she said, like I'd been forgotten. "This is Nick." Nick. No last name. No context. Just Nick. I stared at them waiting, something, anything. But she was calm. He was calm. I was the only one who looked like he'd been pushed off a rooftop and told to keep walking. "Nick works in development." She added like that explained the part where he was touching her under the table. Now I could see it. His hand was under the white tablecloth, moving. Her face twitched slightly, the corners of her mouth lifting a little more. The silence that followed was not just awkward. It was loud. Every clink of a fork on a plate at nearby tables felt like thunder. "So," Nick said, finally looking at me, "you read Josh," not a question, a statement like he already knew me, like I was some backstory he'd been briefed on. His tone was polite in the most condescending way imaginable. Emily still had not let go of his hand. I did not respond. I just looked at her. I think I was still waiting for her to snap out of it, to laugh and say, "You should have seen your face." But she did not. She never even blinked. Nick leaned back, relaxed, and turned to her. "You told him?" She picked up her wine and sipped it. "Not yet." That's when I stood up. Not because I was going to do anything. Not because I had a plan. I just could not sit there any longer pretending I understood what was happening. I opened my mouth. But there was nothing. My brain was not forming sentences. Just static. She finally looked up at me. Properly looked. "Sit down, Josh. Do not make this dramatic." She said it like I was the one causing the scene. Nick smiled wider. "It's fine. Let him process like this was a PowerPoint presentation and not my marriage imploding at an Italian table surrounded by strangers." I sat back down slowly. My hands were trembling. I was trying to hold on to anything familiar in her face and her voice. But she was gone, replaced, hijacked. "You re-seeing him?" I asked, not even sure if that was the right word for what this was. Emily rolled her eyes. "Do not start with labels. It's more complicated than that." Nick added, "You guys have been struggling, right?" I turned to him. "Sharp, you do not talk to me." He raised his hands in mock defense, "Just trying to help, man." Emily reached out. Not to me, but to touch Nick's wrist. "Stop." she said to him. You promised. That one word promised hit harder than anything else. She made him promises? She used to make me promises. I did not eat. I do not remember the rest of the meal. I do not remember leaving. All I remember is the image burned into my mind of her leaning toward him when I walked away, whispering something in his ear, laughing. And I swear to God she did not look back. Not once. When I got home that night, I did not turn on the lights. I walked into the living room, dropped my keys on the floor, not the table, the floor, because I did not care anymore. My chest was hollow, not broken, not shattered, hollow, like someone had scooped everything out with a ladle and just left skin and posture. Emily came back 3 hours later. 3. I did not ask where she'd been. I did not need to. Her perfume entered the apartment 5 seconds before she did. Mixed now with a cologne I did not recognize and something metallic I could not place. She did not speak right away, just stood in the doorway like she was expecting me to already be asleep. I was sitting on the couch, staring at the TV, which was off. It reflected her in the screen like a ghost version. Blurry, flickering when headlights passed the window. You waited up, she said like it was cute. I did not answer. She walked to the kitchen, got herself water and leaned against the counter like she had not just embarrassed me in front of 20 strangers and a man who knew my name before I knew his. Finally, I asked how long she sipped. Why does it matter? I turned slowly because I want to know when I stopped existing. That got her just a little a flicker of guilt in her eyes that she immediately buried under a practiced blank stare. Do not be dramatic, she said again. This did not just happen. You've been gone. I blinked. I'm here every damn day. Exactly, she snapped. You just here. You exist around me, not with me. You talk about work and bills and your bad back. When's the last time you even touched me? That was her angle. That was the play. Turn the knife and hand me the handle. It was so clean. I almost admired it. She walked past me and started unzipping her boots like we were not in the middle of our reality, unraveling thread by thread. I stood up. You brought him to our table. She did not look up. It was not our table. You stopped making reservations. You stopped trying. And he tried, that guy with the smug face and no boundaries. That's your upgrade. She looked at me then sharp. At least he listens. At least he looks at me. I laughed once, one dry bitter sound. You unbelievable. No, she said, I'm done being unbelievable. I'm done pretending this marriage is anything but a stale routine. You do not see me, Josh. You just maintain me like I'm some dusty furniture you forgot you bought. You think that justifies this? I walked toward her. You think you get to disrespect me in public, then come home and blame me for not being enough? She crossed her arms. You were not enough. It hung in the air like smoke. You were not enough, she repeated, not for a long time. I tried to wait for you to show up emotionally, mentally, but you just kept being safe, predictable, dull. So this is what you wanted? I said, voice low, some guy who grabs you in a restaurant and whispers in your ear like he bought you last week. Stop pretending like you're shocked. She said, you knew something was wrong. You felt it. You just did not care enough to ask. I did not care. I took a step closer. I cooked. I cleaned. I did every stupid little task to keep this place from falling apart while you were out. What playing dress up with your little affair? She rolled her eyes. Do not reduce it. Pointed at her. You reduced it the second you brought him into a restaurant, while I was still your husband. You reduced everything. She dropped her boots with a thud. You want honesty now? Fine. We've been seeing each other for 5 months. He knows more about me than you ever did. And I did not tell you because I did not want to hear you act surprised like you had not already left this marriage a year ago. I stared at her, really stared. And for the first time in months, I did not see my wife. I saw a stranger dressed in the skin of someone I used to love. You could have just left, I said, barely above a whisper. She nodded. I could have, but I did not because a part of me hoped you'd fight for me. You wanted to fight? I stepped back. Hollow laugh escaping. You just got one. She walked into the bedroom and shut the door. No slam. No theatrics. Just a clean, quiet click like punctuation at the end of a sentence I had not written. I did not sleep that night. I sat on the couch and replayed every moment from the past 6 months with new eyes. Every late night, every new perfume bottle, every conversation that ended with her saying, "I'm tired." I saw it all for what it was now. And for the first time in my life, I started planning my exit. The next morning was unreal. She walked out of the bedroom wearing my hoodie, the one she used to steal back when that meant something. She moved around the kitchen like it was any other Saturday. Like last night had not happened. Like she had not looked me in the face and told me I was not enough. She poured coffee, toasted bread, opened the fridge. I sat at the table in silence, watching her, studying her like an unfamiliar painting hung in a familiar room. Then she had the nerve to say, "Want eggs?" That's when I realized who I was talking to. Not Emily, not my wife, this version, the one who could shatter you and then offer scrambled eggs as a truce, the one who could turn betrayal into breakfast. No, I said. She shrugged and sat down across from me with her plate. She ate with this disgusting calmness, chewing like she did not feel the heat radiating from me. Like I was a flat tire, she'd already driven 20 miles on, damaged, but not worth stopping for. I finally asked the question that had been clawing at my throat since last night. Was he here? She paused me to what when I went on that work trip in February, you said you were sick, did not leave the apartment. Was he here? She wiped her mouth delicately with a napkin. Like it mattered. That's what you're refocusing on. Answer the question. She leaned back in the chair and stared at me. Yes, I nodded slowly. Did you bring him into our bed? Another pause, another silence. Then it was not your bed anymore. That sentence, that one, it did not cut me open, carve me out. It made me feel like nothing had ever mattered. Like the fights, the apologies, the nights we spent planning a future were all scenes in a play I was not invited to anymore. I stood up. My hands were shaking again. But not from sadness, from restraint. You do not get to rewrite history. I said, you do not get to decide when I stopped being your husband. She looked up at me with that same cold, tranquil gaze. You already did. You just did not notice. That was the moment I made a decision, not rage, not revenge, clarity, sharp and final. I walked to the bedroom and opened the closet. I took out the small suitcase I had not used since Chicago last year and started packing. I heard her laugh from the kitchen. You seriously leaving? She called. That's it. I did not answer. She followed me in. Leaned against the door frame with her mug like we were talking about weekend plans. Where will you even go? She asked. Your brother's couch? That dusty little apartment you always said you hated. I zipped the suitcase. Anywhere you not. She tilted her head. Amused. You being childish. I turned to face her. And you being cruel. I'm being honest. She snapped something you never could be about how boring this got. How tired you were of me pointed at her. I was tired of us, not you. But I stayed. I did not replace you. I did not invite another person into the life we built and pretend it was some bold, empowering move. She rolled her eyes. You always had a talent for sounding noble when you were losing. I grabbed the suitcase and moved toward the door. She did not follow. You'll be back, she said. I stopped. No, I would not. Her face flickered then. Just a second. Just enough to show me a crack beneath that smug surface. Maybe she had not expected me to walk. Maybe she thought I'd crawl. But I did not. I left. I did not slam the door. I closed it with the kind of silence that says, you just watched everything good walk away. And you did not even try to stop it. And the scariest part? She did not. I did not go to my brother's. I drove for hours with no music, no destination. Just road and the ugly silence that follows after someone stabs you without a knife. My phone buzzed twice, once from her, once from a number I did not recognize. I did not check. I did not want words. Not hers. Not anyone else. I ended up in a cheap motel off Highway 17. Rooms smelled like bleach and regret. Walls thin enough to hear the guy next door yelling at a sports game at 2 a.m. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the phone like it was radioactive. Eventually I opened the text. Emily, you left like a coward. Figures. Unknown number him obviously. You made this easy for her. Think about that. I stared at those words for a long time. Phone screen burning my palm. Think about that. He was not even trying to be slick. That was a message. A final shove. As if humiliating me in person was not enough. He needed to reach through my phone and slap me too. I did not respond. I was not going to give either of them the satisfaction. But inside, I was unraveling. Not just angry tainted. There's a kind of humiliation that does not come from being cheated on, but from knowing you were not even considered. That night I could not sleep. My mind kept flashing back to little things. Emily humming in the kitchen while cooking. Emily adjusting her necklace in the mirror. Emily leaning her head on my shoulder during movies. And suddenly all those memories turned rotten. Because now I could not help wondering. Was she thinking of him then? Was she smiling at me while texting him under the table? I checked the time. 3:47 a.m. That's when I made my first move. I drove back to the apartment. Not to see her, not to talk. But to take what was mine. I parked 2 blocks away. Quietly walked up the steps. Used my key. And opened the door. Empty. Silent. Cold. I stepped into the bedroom. Her side of the bed was unmade. A black dress thrown over the chair. The scent of her perfume hung in the air like a warning. But I was not here to breathe her in. I grabbed the rest of my things. Laptop. Passport. Watch. That photo of my dad and me fishing when I was 9. One of the last days I remember feeling truly proud of something. I opened the drawer on her side of the bed. I do not know why. Some sick part of me wanted to see what secrets lived in there. What I found. A second phone. Old model. Slight crack on the screen. I tapped it awake. No password. Messages. Lots of them. Not just from Nick, but from 2 other names I did not recognize. One thread started with "You up?" She replied with a photo. Not explicit. But hers. Intimate. Casual. Like it was routine. I stood there for a full minute. Staring at the screen. Heart absolutely still. That's when it stopped being heartbreak and turned into something else. Not anger. Not grief. Something colder. A clarity that did not need revenge. It just wanted out. Out of the web. Out of her orbit. Out of the illusion. I took pictures of every message. Every thread. Every photo. Not for blackmail. Not to throw in her face. But because I wanted to remember the truth the next time I doubted myself. The next time I thought. Maybe I overreacted. I left the phone where I found it. Wrote a note on the kitchen counter using a Sharpie from the drawer. You lied so well. I almost believed you still had a soul. That was it. I walked out. This time I slammed the door. The next 3 days were strange. Not heavy. Not tragic. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that does not ask if you're okay. Because it already knows the answer. I stayed in a friend's spare room. Marcus. A guy I had not seen in years. We were not close. Just played pickup basketball every few months and traded birthday texts. But when I called him and said I need a place, he did not ask a single question. Just said come through. That silence. His version was different. It did not demand an explanation. It let me sit on his lumpy couch, eat leftover pizza and exist without pretending. Meanwhile, Emily did not stop texting. Emily, I'm not proud of what happened. But I'm not going to be the only villain here. Emily, we were broken way before Nick. You just did not want to admit it. Emily, I deserve happiness too, Josh. Every message she sent sounded like a polished press release. Measured. Sterile. Like she was talking to a therapist. Not a husband she gutted in front of a stranger. There was never a "I'm sorry." Never a moment of real shame. Just deflection. Just rationalizations wrapped in polite phrases. I did not answer. Not once. But I did send one thing to Nick. Not a threat. Not an insult. Just a photo. One of the screenshots from her second phone. It was a message from another guy. Time-stamped from last month. Asking her what color underwear she had on. She replied, "Would not you like to know?" With a selfie. Just enough skin to tell it was not meant for anyone's wife. 10 minutes after I sent it, he replied, "Nick, what is this?" I did not respond. Let him sit with it. Let the rot spread in his brain like it had in mine. He thought he'd won something. Thought he'd stolen gold. All he'd done was take over my seat on a ride she was giving to 3 others behind the curtain. 2 hours later, Emily called. I did not answer. 5 minutes after that, another message. "Emily, you seriously spying on my stuff now? You read disgusting." Disgusting. That's what I was now. The man who paid her bills, supported her when her sister got cancer. Cooked her favorite soup every Sunday night. I was disgusting. I sat on Marcus' balcony that night listening to the city hum below us. The sound of cars and conversations and lives that had not collapsed. I took a sip of warm beer and realized something simple, brutal, and true. She'd been gone a long time before I ever knew to miss her. The betrayal did not start in that restaurant. It started in the quiet, in the shift of her gaze. In the night, she said, "I'm tired," and turned her back. Nick was just the final nail. She'd been hammering slowly for months. Around midnight, Marcus came out and sat beside me. "You ever gonna talk about it?" he asked. "Not tonight." Cool. Silence. Then he asked, "What are you gonna do?" And I said, for the first time without a tremble in my voice, "I'm going to make sure I never forget who she is now." Not who she was, but who she became. Because that woman, that version of Emily, she was not coming back. And even if she did, I was not going to be there. 3 days after going silent, she showed up. I was in Marcus's kitchen halfway through reheating some leftover Chinese when the buzzer rang. Thought it was delivery. Marcus ordered junk at weird hours, sometimes forgot what he even asked for. I picked up the intercom casually, expecting a confused Uber Eats guy. Instead, I heard her voice. "Josh, it's me. I need to talk." That voice, calm, controlled, slightly sweet, the one she used when she wanted something. I had not heard it in person since the night I left. And now it was pouring through the intercom like it still belonged in my life. I did not answer. Just stared at the speaker, heart suddenly loud in my ears. She buzzed again. "Please, just 5 minutes." I looked over my shoulder. Marcus was not home. Maybe that was a blessing. Maybe not. She buzzed one more time. Then silence. I went to the window and watched her walk back toward her car. Not frantic, not crying. No flowers, no apology letter in hand. Just cool. Calculated Emily in designer boots. Looking like she was picking someone up from a therapy appointment, not begging to fix a burned-down life. I did not text her. I did not call the next day she came back. This time she waited, sat in her car across the street for 2 hours, just parked there like some patient shadow. I watched her from the window pretending to scroll my phone, pretending I did not care that my ex-wife or whatever she was now was staking out the sidewalk like a cop without a badge. Finally, I went down. I did not do it for her. I did it for me. I needed to see her up close. I needed to know if the woman I loved still lived inside that stranger who let another man kiss her in public like I was dead and buried. She stepped out of the car the second she saw me. Same jacket from the night she told me I was not enough. Still smelled like that damn perfume, white jasmine and poison. 5 minutes. I said, arms crossed. She nodded. Okay. We stood on the curb. The wind pulling at her hair. She did not look messy. She never did. Even her breakdowns were curated. I did not come to fight. She started, then do not. She exhaled. I came because I see not stand how we ended it. I looked at her unblinking. We did not end it. You shattered it. I just walked away from the wreckage. She flinched slightly. Good. I was angry, she said. Confused. Nick said things that were not true. He told me things to keep me close. He did not mean any of it. I laughed. Actually laughed. So now he is the manipulator. That is the story? He used me. She said, eyes glassy now. I was stupid. I thought it was something real. And now he would not even talk to me. Wow. I said, voice flat. So when I was telling you the truth, you called it controlling. But when he was lying, you called it love. I messed up. She said quietly. No, I corrected. You chose. There's a difference. She wiped her eye. No tears yet. Just the performance of them. I miss you. She said, I do not expect anything. I just needed to say it. I stared at her hard. And then in a voice I did not recognize as mine, I asked, were there others? She blinked. What besides Nick, the second phone, the messages, the pictures? I want you to say it out loud. She hesitated. Then yes, that word detonated something that had been dormant in me, not anger, not pain, closure. Thank you? I said, now I can finally stop loving you completely. She looked stunned. Like she had not expected me to say it out loud. Like part of her thought she still lived in my heart somewhere. Waiting for a call home. I turned to go. Josh, she called out. Do not you miss me at all? I paused, hand on the building door, then said without looking back, I miss who you pretended to be, not who you are. And then I walked inside, did not stop, did not look back, did not feel broken, just clean. 2 days passed, quiet again. But it was a new kind of quiet, not empty like before, peaceful, like I'd swept the last pieces of shattered glass off the floor, and finally stopped cutting my feet open every time I walked through a memory. Emily did not come back. But the story was not finished with me yet. It was a Thursday afternoon when Marcus texted me from work. You might want to check your email. She's making moves. My stomach tightened. I opened my inbox, half expecting some last-ditch letter of fake vulnerability. Instead, I found something worse, an email from our joint bank, subject transfer confirmation. I opened it. $12,400 gone, moved into an account under her name. No cosign, no discussion, no warning. I stared at the screen in disbelief. That account was not hers. It was ours. Emergency savings. The account we built over 5 years of skipping vacations, buying off-brand cereal and saying someday. It was the account we swore we'd never touch unless something really bad happened. Apparently, me leaving qualified called her. She picked up on the first ring. Took you long enough. She said, what did you do? I asked, voice low and even. I transferred what's mine. She said, half of that money is mine? Legally, that was our safety net. I said that was meant for a future we both worked for. She scoffed. A future you walked out of. Clenched my jaw. I walked out after you filled our marriage with strangers. And you think that makes you the victim? She shot back, you left me alone to deal with everything. Mortgage, utilities, the lease on your stupid car, my car. I said, stunned, you re-talking about my car right now. She did not miss a beat. Do not pretend like you were the saint. You think packing your bags makes you noble? You do not get to vanish and still control the money. I did not vanish. I said, voice rising now. I escaped. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, you always made yourself the hero in your little stories. Did not you? That one line was meant to cut. And it almost did. But I smiled, because for the first time, I could hear the panic under her performance. Nick was gone. The mask had slipped. And now she was lashing out, clawing at the last lever of control. She thought she had money. I'm filing for divorce, I said flatly. She laughed, sharp and short. You think that scares me? No. I said, I think it frees me. I hung up that same day. I called a lawyer. Her name was Vanessa, calm voice, sharp mind, absolutely no time for drama. I liked her instantly. After I explained everything, she said, "She's going to try to make this ugly?" "That's fine. I do ugly well." We drafted the paperwork that afternoon. I sent Emily the documents the next morning via email and certified mail. No more calls. No more open doors. I was not asking any more. I was ending later that evening. Marcus and I sat on the balcony again. This time with whiskey and real silence, not the kind that tries to swallow you whole, the kind that says you made it out. I checked my phone one last time that night. One unread message from her. No subject, no greeting. Just, "You really think this ends with a signature?" I stared at it, deleted it, and whispered to myself. Yes, for me it does. The day she signed the divorce papers, it was raining, not the romantic kind of rain you see in movies where people kiss in puddles and forgive each other under streetlights. This was the kind that soaked your socks through your shoes and made everything feel heavier than it already was. She signed electronically. No handwritten note, no dramatic flair, just a system-generated email that said, "Emily Harper has completed her part of the document." 12 words. That's all it took to officially end 7 years of shared keys, shared beds, shared mornings, and shared lies. Vanessa called me shortly after it's done, she said. I did not say anything for a moment. "Then what now?" She answered like she'd been waiting for the question. "Now you breathe, now you rebuild, and now you watch, because people like her do not know how to sit in silence. She'll come back, not because she loves you, but because she hates losing the version of you she could not control." She was right. And I did not even have to wait long. 3 days after the paperwork was finalized, she showed up at my work. I was coming back from lunch, turkey sandwich, no mustard, just trying to pretend life was normal. When I saw her standing by my car in the lot, umbrella in one hand, iced coffee in the other, like we were about to catch up on old times instead of standing at the grave of our relationship, I froze. She smiled. "Hey, what are you doing here?" I wanted to talk face to face. "No," I said. "You wanted to interrupt." "That's different." She tilted her head. "Can we not do the cold shoulder thing today? I've had a really rough week." I laughed once, just one dry exhale. "You were standing in front of the man you cheated on, robbed and gaslit. And you had a rough week." She took a step forward. "Can we just go somewhere and talk?" "I have nothing to say." She dropped the act then. I saw it. The smile cracked. The eyes hardened. "So that's it? You redone with me completely?" "Yes," I said. She stared at me like I had personally offended the version of herself she thought still had power over me. Then she said something that caught me off guard. "You think any of those other guys meant something?" "They did not. None of them did." I did not respond. She stepped closer. "I messed up. Bad. I know. But you never even fought for me. You just left. You did not yell, did not scream. You packed your things and walked out like it was a job you were clocking out of." I looked at her carefully, then said, "Because I'd already been screaming for years. You just had your headphones and that hit her." She blinked once, twice, looked down at her drink. "I do not even know who I am without you." She whispered that was her last move. Vulnerability, the soft sell. And I understood it because I had once fallen for it. I had once dropped everything to soothe her storms while I drowned. But not anymore. I opened my car door. "Then it's time you figure that out." She did not move. Just stood there in the rain, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. And yet, even then, I did not feel sorry for her. Not pity, not anger, nothing, just distance. I got in the car. She tapped the window once. I rolled it down an inch. "I still remember the way you used to look at me." She said. I looked forward. "I do not." And then I drove away. I did not check the mirror. I did not want to see the ghost vanish. It had been 2 weeks since I saw her by my car. Since that last sentence left my mouth like a final nail in the coffin. And I thought that would be it, the true ending. But when someone like Emily feels the ground slipping, they do not fall. They drag. And I was still close enough to feel the pull. I started getting messages from mutual friends, ones I had not heard from in years. "Hey man, just checking in. Emily S. saying some stuff about you. Just weird. Is everything alright? She told me you had some kind of breakdown. Josh, I do not know who to believe right now. But I had to ask, did you really threaten her?" And there it was, the second act of her performance. If she could not hold me, she'd recast me, rewrite the script, turn herself into the victim and me into something small, unstable, cruel. I did not respond to any of the messages. I knew the playbook: accuse, confuse, redirect. She was burning the bridge and blaming me for the smoke. But one message caught me off guard. It was from Sarah, her cousin, the only person in her family I ever really got along with. "Sarah, I know what she's doing. She's done it before. Not like this, but close, just letting you know I'm not buying it. And if you ever need anything, I'm here." I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I wanted to reply, but because I finally realized something. Emily was not just a liar. She was a pattern, a cycle wrapped in a smile. And every time she felt her grip slip, she reached for chaos to keep her relevant. I had been so focused on surviving her betrayal that I did not even consider the aftershocks, the part where she could not stand being irrelevant in my story. She had already lost me. Now she was trying to stain the memory. But I did not bite. Not when another guy reached out anonymously asking, "Did she ever say she was divorced when you were still married?" Not when a mutual friend forwarded me a photo of her at a bar, wrapped around someone new already. Not even when my landlord called and said, "Emily came by the old place asking if you'd left anything for her." She looked off. I just let it all pass. Because for the first time in years, I did not need to respond to her chaos. I started running in the mornings, not for fitness, just to move, to feel my body again, to remind myself I was still here, still functioning, still mine. I started writing again, old habits I had let slip while trying to be someone's emotional caretaker. I even laughed once genuinely at a stupid video Marcus showed me, something about a raccoon stealing pizza. But it was real, unexpected. And it felt like it had come from a clean part of me that she never touched. Then came the final hit. Vanessa called one afternoon. She sent a counterclaim. She said. I blinked. For what? She wants emotional damages. Says your behavior led to anxiety, sleeplessness, loss of work performance. She's asking for restitution. I did not even feel angry. I felt bored. Because at this point, it was not surprising. It was predictable. The final swing of someone who could not stand that I was not playing anymore. Vanessa asked if I wanted to respond. I said, not with words, just finish it. And we did. Legally, financially, entirely, we sent the final rejection with documentation attached, screenshots, evidence timelines. Vanessa was surgical, cold, efficient. I did not even have to speak. And when the dust settled, I was not angry. I was not sad. I was done. The last time I saw her, it was not planned. I was walking through the park near my new place. Nowhere fancy. Just a clean stretch of grass with crooked benches and joggers who waved like they knew you even when they did not. It was early evening. The kind of hour where the light feels soft. Like the world's trying to apologize for everything it made you carry all day. She was sitting alone by the fountain. Same coat. Same posture. Legs crossed. Phone in hand. Pretending to scroll. I knew that look. She was not reading anything. She was just waiting for someone, for something. Maybe for me. She saw me before I saw her. I think she had been watching. I did not stop. But I slowed enough to make eye contact. Enough for her to speak. You look different. She said. I am? She smiled, weak and half real. You cut your hair. I cut the part of me that waited for you. She blinked, that old Emily flicker. Like a glitch in the mask. Her lips parted. Words were forming. But I did not care to hear them. She stood up. Can we talk? I kept walking. We already did. I did not mean for any of this to happen. I stopped, turned to her and said, That's the only true thing you've said in months. She stepped closer. I do not want you to hate me. I do not. I said honestly. I do not feel anything for you anymore. And that's how I know I finally made it out. She looked like she was trying to cry. But nothing came. No tears. Just a practiced face and empty hands. Then she asked the question I knew she would. Do you ever miss me? I looked at her. Not past her. Not through her. Her. No. I said, but I miss the man I used to be before you made me forget who he was. And with that I walked away. I did not turn back. Not because I wanted her to see me as strong. Not because I wanted to hurt her. But because this time, finally, I did not need to look over my shoulder to know the fire was out. So that's it. That's how it ends. Not with a fight. Not with closure. With distance. Real irreversible distance. If you rereading this, and you in the place I was, in the middle of confusion, betrayal, and the ache of watching someone you love become someone unrecognizable. Here's what I'll say. Do not wait for the apology that never comes. Do not dig through ashes looking for the pieces of someone who set themselves on fire just to keep you cold. And above all, leave when the door is still open. Before they lock it behind you and sell the key. Because healing does not wait for permission. It begins the moment you stop asking liars for the truth.